Formula One has been called the Piranha Club because of the amount of sniping and biting. It's much worse than swimming with sharks.
There's so much money involved in the sport. It's not just about what you see at the Grand Prix track, it's what goes on behind the scenes. Absolutely cutthroat.
If you want to be strong on the track, you also need to be strong off track.
The success in racing comes down to just being stubborn. A lot of your competitors will fall apart before you will.
Politics are a big part of the sport. It can get pretty nasty.
There's a lot of posturing, positioning, total paranoia.
You always want to destabilize your competitors.
If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. This is, albeit a short one, the history of the team, the championship years, winning 4 championships, Max's first victory, Daniel's first victory. But what we've actually done in the last 15 years is pretty significant. Yeah, this was our first winner. This was the first Drivers' Championship car. It was the first Constructors' Championship car.
Great job, Sebastian. Proud of you. Great job.
To take on all the great teams at that time, you know, really the start of a totally dominant period for Red Bull Racing. We're an energy drinks manufacturer. We're the maverick in Formula One. We've won 8 world championships. But the last few years, we've lagged behind. We need to challenge the big teams. Our Achilles heel has been the engine.
And it is absolute double disaster for Red Bull.
Both have just plain broken down.
And that's been immensely frustrating for us. We have to raise our game.
You know that the good thing about Renault in Formula One, I think that obviously the only possibility to live in Paris and work in Formula One, which is not that bad. We are French, we are passionate. Renault is a partly state-owned company, so it really belongs to the French people. This position in which I am currently, it's a huge privilege.
No, but go on. Lunch is part of life, huh? So it's a very important part of life. We are a French team. We have the best table in the paddock. And it has to be the same as the factory.
Renault is one of the few teams that make Formula One engine. We also happen to supply those engines to other teams. Getting a Formula One engine right is very complicated because we are talking about many components. Engine technology is very complex. We also happen to supply those engines to Red Bull, the customer, but at the same time, they are competitors.
We're Red Bull. We don't make road cars. We're not an engine manufacturer. We've bought our engines from Renault for the past 12 seasons. And we pay for the service that Renault provide. But we're not consulted on any decisions that are made regarding the layout, the cooling, the exhaust, the integration of the engine into the chassis. We have to accept whatever Renault want to do. That is a big, big issue.
Started to have very strong comment from Christian regarding performance.
It is very clear that the relationship with Red Bull is going to a crunch time, but the engine is progressing. It's capable of winning races.
Every single race win that Red Bull had was with Renault.
We've had a love-hate relationship with Renault over the last 12 years. You know, Renault have fallen behind their rivals in Ferrari and Mercedes, and you know, that's caused frustration, friction in the relationship, tension.
He's clearly someone who wants to control every single element of this car.
But unfortunately, he has to accept that there is one element that they are not controlling.
With that engine supply, we've been paying to fly in first class, but ended up with an economy ticket. Bang for buck, value for money is crucial to us. And it's a very, very important year for the team. So we need to make a decision.
Daniel, happy birthday.
Yeah, I just got a warm welcome. I got a birthday massacre.
Alright, have a great race, okay? Love you big.
Yeah. Alright, gangster.
Love you.
I just wanna tickle my scrotum and touch my nutsack. People would argue that they're the same thing. Maybe they are, but scrotum is ticklish. Ticklish it is.
I don't even know if that was a very good one.
That shit's ad hoc. I woke up early because it's my birthday. I was so excited.
I've been with Red Bull since 2008. Now that contract is coming to an end this year, and when it comes to looking ahead, you've kind of got to see who's doing what. You've got to try and figure out who's going to dominate for the next, 1 to 3 years.
Welcome to Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen.
A nice birthday present, shoe size 58.
The main thing for me is to put myself in the best car with a chance to win, to try and see if I'm the best in the world and show what I believe I've got. Where I am in my career, I'm 29 now. If I'm ever going to be world champion, making this decision is massive.
One more time, Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen.
Anything I need to be aware of? Daniel was positive.
He said discussions have moved on.
Yeah.
The next couple of weeks,
Yeah.
he would hope to be giving an answer basically before the summer break.
Okay, good. Super.
Yeah.
Let's go here.
You couldn't see any reason why Daniel wouldn't re-sign with you guys, and that you were confident that he would. Feeling more confident this week?
We're very happy with Daniel. We hope that we retain him in the team. He's in a great car. He's a championship contender this year. I can't imagine him anywhere else.
Bonjour. Bonjour, ça va? Bonjour. We are currently 4th in championship, and Red Bull are 3rd. Red Bull is obviously a great brand, but a drink. Renault is one of the largest car makers in the world. We are here for building the reputation of our brand. It's all about playing catch-up against Red Bull.
We have impatient shareholders, impatient sponsors, impatient drivers. The Renault team cannot outperform us.
Teammates. We've been super competitive. Naturally, with that, there becomes a competition, a rivalry, a lot of friction, tension.
My teammate, but also my biggest rival. I need to be the faster driver of the two. I hate to lose.
Well, this contract talk, it does put more pressure on me when it comes to these negotiations. To strengthen your position, winning is important.
Have a good one. Get your head down.
only moments away from the start of the Austrian Grand Prix.
Ready to check, please?
Yep, ready, that's good. Let's make shit happen today.
Ricciardo needs his third win of the season here to stay in contention for the championship.
Verstappen has started well. Daniel Ricciardo trying to get past Grosjean. And he's up into fifth. Renault also battling through the pack. Carlos Sainz, oh, bit of a collision there. Oh, and now his teammate Nico Hülkenberg has a major problem.
I lost the power, I've lost power. Stop the car, please, Nicky. You've got fire at the back of the car. It's game over.
That appears to be an engine issue for Renault.
Ricciardo closing up on Kimi Räikkönen.
Good move, mate. Nice job.
And up into third place now.
Okay, so Hamilton is only 18 seconds ahead.
Okay.
Into the pit lane, Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes. Currently in the lead, but now he's in for his tyre change.
Hamilton is in the pit lane, so push now. Push on if you can.
Now, will Ricciardo be able to overtake Hamilton as he comes out from the pit lane?
It is going to be close.
Okay.
It's going to be close. Hamilton 1 second behind you.
Red Bull suddenly smell a victory there today. What was that coming out of the back of the Red Bull?
Losing gear sync.
Failed, 2 failed, Daniel. We have got an issue.
It's the real. It's getting really bad now.
Okay, failed, 2 failed. We're going to have to retire, Daniel. Retire.
Oh, he's got a problem. He's stopping. Daniel Ricciardo is out of the race.
If you can, pull over at turn 1, please. Pull over at turn 1. Yeah, I'll tell you about it later, but we've got some issues at the rear end of the car. Sorry about that, mate.
And Red Bull will not enjoy the sights of the mechanical problem. He is out of the Austrian Grand Prix. Oh dear, what a shame for Daniel Ricciardo.
That's blown the candles out on the birthday cake. It's been a bad day for Renault. Their sole remaining car finishes in 12th place with no points.
I know what I'm capable of, but things seem to keep happening out of my control. It's frustrating.
Do you know what day Max is in this week? Because I wouldn't mind finding half an hour with him just in the afternoon. Cool. All right. Okay. Speak to you later. Thanks. Bye. Daniel's contract talks and discussions have made progress. The only question that Daniel has, quite openly, is the power unit going to be able to compete with Mercedes and Ferrari next year? That is his only question in terms of the team's capabilities. The only question over our package for next year is the engine.
I have complete confidence that we can become the best on the engine side. Red Bull criticizing its supplier is absolutely nothing new. In a few weeks, we will not be in a position to guarantee supply to Red Bull anymore. We need to order parts from the suppliers to build the engine for next year. I can't postpone forever the deadline. So if Red Bull Racing wants to be supplied by Renault, they need to let us know as quickly as possible.
What is the best route to competitiveness? Is it to stay with Renault? Or is it to move to another manufacturer?
One that would allow us to have an input into the design of the engine, to create true harmony between engine and chassis.
So crucial we make the right decision.
At 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, we'll be announcing we will not be continuing our relationship with Renault.
We have got a breaking news story. Christian Horner is dumping Renault next season.
Renault will stop supplying Red Bull from 2019. That's millions of dollars Renault will no longer be receiving next year. A blow to the Renault brand as one less team has a Renault engine next year. I'm in a bit of disbelief, to be honest. He lost faith.
Who else is in the conference? I've got Cyril.
Great.
Right. How are you?
It could be better.
All your bigwigs here this weekend?
A few of them, yeah.
I'm sure.
You know, we've decided to take a different path for next year. We've been following the progress of Honda's development very closely. And the decision we've made is that Honda is absolutely the right route for the Red Bull. We're all selfish in this business. Renault's priorities obviously are their own team. From 2019, we won't be paying the amounts that we've been paying to Renault. It's exciting news for us. 2019, we're looking forward to.
Cyril, can we get Renault's feelings on the news from this week?
Okay, well, implication of the termination of the deal on our budget is really marginal. Yes, there was a substantial revenue associated to that supply, but there were also a substantial cost associated, and clearly marginal in comparison to the overall budget of our organization as we speak.
Okay, thank you, bye-bye.
That was juicy, wasn't it?
Now, you guys and Red Bull, shall we say it's not been the happiest of marriages for the last few years?
Sort of a marriage where you're hanging around for the sake of the children rather than because you're in love with each other. The Honda route is the best route forward for us for the future.
Personally, I'm a bit sad because it's been 12 years or so of my life, dealing with Christian.
Look, Renault was still very keen to have us. They were desperate even until last week.
We feel now that we don't need Red Bull anymore.
We're still relying on Renault in our current season.
How can you promise them that the performance level will be as high as possible?
And how's this news been received by Daniel Ricciardo?
I think he sees the logic, the data that we're looking at. It's a no-brainer.
So it boosts your chances of retaining him?
I would think so, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that was all right. Very entertaining.
I need another excuse for a tattoo, so I really want to win a championship soon so I can get something to represent that. All this contract talk, winning is still the main thing for me. At least top of my list, it's be somewhere where I can win. But maybe it comes with age, but it needs to be a happy environment to be able to win.
So stay, change, stick with what we know. It's all that sort of concoction of emotions, isn't it?
It's a big decision. I turn 30 next year. I'm getting old. So
we're in the privileged position of having more than one option, having interest from other really good teams. Yeah, it's just about making the correct overall choice.
We were both personally surprised when Max announced that he'd extended. Their focus looked like Max and
The relationship with Cyril's been difficult. He's an emotional guy. You never know what you're going to get.
Comments involving the engine has been the step too far from Red Bull. The red line crossed.
Verstappen immediately from 7th to 5th. of Ricciardo there.
Daniel, I don't know if there's damage.
Stay out for now, stay out.
Okay.
Sergio Perez going past as well.
Fucking force India past me. There's no way he keeps that spot.
Okay, get focused. Daniel, let's get going. We are staying out. Stay out. Let's go.
Understood.
You know what to do.
Okay.
Daniel Ricciardo with a little bit of damage from the start, now down in 16th, and it's very difficult to overtake on the Hungaroring. Ricciardo's making a move, and he's got past Perez. Next up is Van Dorn. Past Van Dorn. Ricciardo ducking and weaving. And he breezes past Fernando Alonso. Ricciardo really is one of the best overtakers in the business.
Next one ahead, Hulkenberg.
Okay.
Ricciardo now has 2 Renaults to overtake. The first is Nico Hulkenberg. Oh, and that's spectacular stuff. Super late on the brakes. And Sainz becomes yet another victim of Ricciardo at the first corner. Ricciardo now up to 7th. Phenomenal. Oh, there's a problem.
Made no power, no power.
Yep. Mode 1. Max Verstappen in a nightmare weekend.
Stop the car, please, on track, Max. I don't fucking care if this engine blows up. Fuck it. Stop the car, please.
Another power issue related problem for Red Bull.
Fuck! What a fucking joke all the fucking time with this shit, honestly.
Okay, Daniel, that last lap, you were the quickest car on track.
Yes.
Ricciardo is flying. All over the back of Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Ricciardo's trying to go the long way round, and he's pulled it off. Another great move. And here's another place for Ricciardo. He's fought back from 16th up to 5th. Very impressive. Valtteri Bottas now ahead of him. Bottas covers the inside. Ricciardo has to go the long way round. We've seen him do it before, and they touch. Contact between Bottas and Ricciardo. Bottas just careered into the side of the Australian. And there's massive damage on the side of that Red Bull.
Bottas just locked up and went into you.
Yes.
You are now starting the last lap.
Okay.
You can still get him.
Ricciardo goes for it again. And he overtakes Bottas. With all that chaos behind, it's been an easy race for Lewis Hamilton. A commanding victory for Hamilton and Mercedes, winning the Hungarian Grand Prix. Ricciardo recovers to 4th place.
Well done, Daniel. It's a very strong drive. Some fantastic passing moves there.
Cheers, guys.
It's just a good feeling when you know you've done your best, knowing that I've still got it and proving it to people.
Renault disappointing in 9th and 12th, and now over 100 points behind Red Bull in the championship.
We know that the second part of the season is going to be extremely intense, very tight against cars around us, which right now are more competitive, and we need to change the way that we are doing things if we want to have any chance to fight against them. We had a good meeting last week, and I'm pleased to announce you that we will have an increased financial support from next year that will materialize in an extra budget. We have a strategy, we have a plan. We need to see that people respect us. We are not going to be intimidated, full stop.
I've been on holiday for 2 weeks. So been training the last few days, getting back into it. I just thought about a lot of things this year and contract talks. What am I going to do next? Red Bull's confident that next year it's going to be great, but Honda, they haven't yet proven themselves. I don't know.
It's busy. It's been busy for several months. Without Red Bull, Daniel would not be in the position he is now. There is a significant amount of loyalty there. You have to be respectful of that.
How's the season? Good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Bits of it could have been better, but yeah, we're 9 races in. We've won 3 of them.
This is the best driver pairing that we've had in our history. Daniel's contract's been talked about since pre-season, and I'm confident that we'll manage to get things resolved.
At times, I've found myself frustrated. I just felt I needed something different. I like new challenges and kind of having a fresh start.
Daniel Ricciardo is not re-signing for Red Bull, he's going to Renault. Were they expecting it? No, definitely caught them out.
Nice morning.
Maybe we will go the normal way.
I was going to say,
you can sneak.
Otherwise, you sneak through the paddock and then you have to.
No, well,
that's maybe not.
Let's take it all on the chin.
Right, where is the conference?
Stop it. Oh, it's not that crazy.
Cyril.
He needs a driver and an engine.
Yeah. So have you got any money to spend on your engine now? You spend it all on your driver?
I've got plenty of money.
It's kind of weird. Like super weird.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an, what's the, eerie? Eerie atmosphere. Did something else happen this morning that I don't know about?
Wow.
It's going to be weird, but somewhat exciting. I think it's a good move. I'm leaving sufficient space for Max.
A question for Christian. Given the loss of Daniel is obviously very significant, is there any added frustration in losing him to an organisation of which you've been very publicly critical?
Of course, it was a surprise, having had everything in front of him that he wanted and had required, financially, etc., etc. Well, I suppose the whole process with Daniel, so long as he's comfortable looking at himself in the mirror with the choices that he's made, you have to respect that.
We've had random discussion, jokes with Daniel since a while. Would be hard to put an exact date on the first joke about this type of switch. Renault can afford pretty much anything. Renault is the largest car maker in Formula One, full stop. He bought into the project and made this decision.
Thank you.
And the knock-on effects of Ricciardo moving to Renault mean Carlos Sainz will lose his seat.
You're confused with Movistar.
Yeah.
Press conference, we know what they're talking about. You know what's going to be asked. It's all straightforward.
Is there anything in particular you guys don't want or want to say?
This year, I want to do the best on track. My focus is Spa. This weekend, next weekend, my focus is Monza.
I want you to cry. I want you to be really sad. Kind of just say you're going to miss us so much.
Okay, I'll try.
Muchas gracias.
See ya.
Bye. Luego.
Now with Red Bull, that'll be awkward. I'll expect to be isolated.
People are shocked in some quarters by the decision, but I think it comes down to where you feel wanted. We had a private meeting with Renault and they walked us through what was coming. It really showed you the might of a manufacturer. Their ultimate goal to be a world championship winning team again, and they have the pedigree for that.
Is he making the right career choice? In the end, my assumption is he was running from a fight. That's the way it feels to me.
Always look ahead. Focus on going forwards, not backwards. Our goal is not just to beat Renault. Our goal is to try and be world champions.
It's a very dangerous sport, and it will always be.
Confidence level goes down when you have a crash like that.
Jewel Bianchi has died.
This year, his godson, Charles Leclerc, made his Formula One debut.
The bigger teams are now putting their faith in younger drivers.
Wow, look at that! Leclerc around the outside! Yes!
For Marcus, it's a little hard to take.
Leclerc is right on his tail now.
I've always dreamed to be part of Ferrari.
Charles has a mission to do what Jules should have done.
Call tonight regarding a massive consignment of goods. I have to go meet Monkey Harris, and I need you here to answer the phone and take the order. But Del, we're in the middle of therapy. Business before pleasure, Mr. Managing Director. Del reminded him firmly. You took the job. Now take the responsibility. I'll be back by midnight. Oh, and Russell? Del paused at the door, grinning wickedly. Don't conquer Gaul without me. He slammed the door. leaving the gladiator and the policewoman to sit in silence on the floral sofa, the mood thoroughly and permanently ruined. Chapter 7, The Rainbow Road. Thursday night arrived, and with it came the moment Del Boy had been building toward to save their financial skins. He had actually managed to pass the auditions and get onto Gold Rush. The studio lights were blinding, the audience was roaring, and the host, Jonathan Ross, was bouncing around the stage with manic energy. Sitting in the green room, Del wiped a layer of sweat from his forehead. He was wearing his best suit, a sharp gray number with a subtle pinstripe. He looked the part of the successful businessman, even if his bank account was currently weeping. Welcome to another edition of the show that is taking the country by storm. Jonathan Ross yelled to the cameras. This is the fastest game show on TV. This is Thursday. This is live. And this is Gold Rush. Del was introduced alongside to other contestants. Mike, a financial advisor from Merseyside, and Janice, an amateur opera singer from Newquay. Through a combination of sheer luck, quick reflexes, and his competitors' catastrophic errors, Del managed to navigate the early rounds. He guessed his way through a question about African mountains Kilimanjaro. Any idiot knows that Fuji make cameras, and survived a challenge from Janice that doubled his money. He was on a winning streak. The studio audience was firmly behind the charismatic, fast-talking Londoner. The lights around the stage changed from green to blue to purple as he advanced up the prize ladder. Derek, Jonathan Ross said, the tension music pulsing in the background. You are doing incredibly well. You are currently sitting on 25,000 pounds. The audience gasped and applauded. Del swallowed hard. 25 grand. It was more than half of what they owed the taxman. It was a lifeline. But now, we reach the penalty question, Jonathan continued, his tone turning serious. This question is worth 50,000 pounds. Get this right, and you play for the grand prize of 100,000. But get it wrong, and you lose everything. You drop back to zero. Del's mouth felt like sandpaper. Let's ave it, Jonathan. He who dares wins. All right, for 50,000 pounds. Here is the question. The giant screen behind them flashed the text. Which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? A Ravel. B. Segovia. C. Rodrigo. Del stared at the screen. The names swam before his eyes. He knew about as much regarding classical guitarists and obscure operas as he did about quantum physics. He was a man of the pub jukebox, not the Royal Albert Hall. I think I know this one, Jonathan. Del bluffed, playing to the crowd. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. I think it's Ravel. Or, I keep thinking, it could be Segovia. Then again, it might be Rodrigo. Jonathan smiled. Well, Derek, you're right. It's definitely one of those three. The audience chuckled. Del felt a cold sweat prickle his neck. He couldn't risk it. Not 50 grand. Well, in that case, Jonathan, Del said, his voice tightening, I'm going to have to use me old SOS lifeline, aren't I? I think that's probably wise. Jonathan agreed. Who would you like to be your savior tonight? Derek. My brother, Rodney. He's got to GCEs. He's the managing director of our firm. A very smart boy. Okay, let's get Rodney on the line. Back in the flat in Peckham, Rodney was miserably watching the television, still wearing his Russell Crowe gladiator tunic, having been unable to figure out how to unbuckle the complex leather straps. The phone on the table rang shrilly. Oh, piss off, Mickey, Rodney shouted at the phone, assuming it was another prank call. You're getting on my tits now. He snatched the receiver. Hello. Hello, is that Rodney? Yes, it is. And I know it's you, Mickey Pierce, so you can shove it. Rodney, this is Jonathan Ross at the Gold Rush Studio. Rodney froze. The voice matched the television exactly. The studio audience's laughter echoed slightly out of sync on the live broadcast. Oh, my God, Rodney gasped, dropping his toy sword. Hi, Jonathan. How are you? I'm just fine. I've got Derek here, and he's on 50,000 pounds. Rodney's knees buckled. He sank onto the sofa. You're kidding. I'm deadly serious. But he's got a problem with the 50,000-pound question, and he has chosen you as his savior. Listen carefully. You'll have 20 seconds to answer. Del's desperate voice came over the line. Rodney, for the love of God, concentrate. Hold on, Rodney said, his trotter instincts kicking in despite the panic. What's in this for me? I'm the MD. I need a cut. I'll make sure you get a drink, you plonker. Just answer the question. Del yelled. Jonathan read the question. Which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? Was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Rodney's mind raced. He had taken music appreciation at night school for 3 weeks to impress a girl. He closed his eyes. The memory surfaced through the fog. Ravel, Rodney said with utter certainty. How sure are you? Del asked, practically praying. 100%. Derek. Ravel. Good boy, Rotters. Del sighed with relief. He turned to the host, brimming with renewed confidence. There you go, Jonathan. He knows his classics. I'll go with that. It's Ravel. The studio lights dimmed. A solitary spotlight hit Jonathan Ross. He looked at his card, then at Del. Derek, you don't have to take his answer. You know that, don't you? You can still change your mind. No, I know. Del smiled, relaxing. But he knows what he's talking about. It's Ravel. Lock it in. Jonathan took a deep breath. Derek, that was the wrong answer. The studio fell dead silent. What? Del whispered. It was Segovia, Jonathan said apologetically. No, Del said, his voice trembling. No, Rodney said it was Ravel. I know he did, but he was wrong. Bad luck. Del, you've used up all your options. You lose the 50,000 pounds, and you leave us with nothing but your £1 entry prize. You're frozen out of the game. Del stared blindly at the cameras. He didn't hear the audience's sympathetic groans. He didn't hear Jonathan introducing the next contestant. The world had simply stopped turning. 50,000 pounds. Gone because of Rodney. In a blind, unthinking rage of sheer despair, Del kicked out at the nearest object, his foot connected solidly with his contestant podium. The heavy structure wobbled, tipped, and crashed to the studio floor in a shower of sparks and broken plastic. Security rushed the stage. Del was escorted out of the building, a broken man clutching a £1 coin. Chapter 8, The Final Twist. The atmosphere in Nelson Mandela House was toxic. It was a silence so thick you could carve it with a chainsaw. Rodney sat on the sofa, still clad in his ridiculous gladiator outfit, holding his head in his hands. Cassandra sat beside him, rubbing his back soothingly, while Raquel furiously scrubbed dishes in the kitchen, punishing the porcelain for those failures. I was certain, Rodney whispered to the floor. I was so certain it was Ravel. Rodney, you did your best, Cassandra said softly. It was a stupid, obscure question. And Del was okay, wasn't he? Rodney asked, seeking some shred of comfort. He didn't make too much of a scene on live national television. Well, Cassandra winced until he kicked the podium over. It looked like he broke the buzzer system. Jonathan Ross had to pick it up while they cut to a commercial. Where is Del? Rodney asked. It had been hours since the broadcast ended. I haven't a clue, Raquel called from the kitchen, her voice trembling with suppressed rage. At the end of the show, he just disappeared into the London night, abandoned his child and his partner in an area of the city we've never been in before. Thankfully, the studio felt sorry for us and paid for a cab home. Just then, the front door clicked open. Del shuffled in. He looked like he had aged 10 years in 3 hours. His suit was crumpled, his hair disheveled, and he carried the distinct aroma of cheap street corner hot dogs and profound defeat. He didn't look at any of them. He just walked to the armchair and collapsed into it. What the hell happened to you? Raquel demanded, marching into the room with a wet dishcloth. I went out, Del mumbled, staring at the blank television screen. Oh, good, long as I know. Del, Rodney started, his voice cracking. I'm sorry. I could have sworn it was Ravel. I really thought it was. And so could Cassandra, couldn't you? Del asked, his voice eerily calm, lacking its usual fire. Yes, I could. Cassandra defended her husband. Del finally looked at them. The anger was gone, replaced by a hollow, crushing despair. Well, you're both a pair of dipsticks, then, aren't you? And as for you, He pointed a shaking finger at Rodney. "You are never, ever going to borrow my Capri again. Ever. Del, please." "And that bone marrow you mentioned earlier," Del continued, his voice rising slightly. "You can forget it. Keep it. Because obviously, everyone with half a brain knows that Ravel makes shoes. It was a trick question, and you fell for it like a ton of bricks." Shoes? Rodney blinked. Maurice Ravel was a French composer. Del. "I don't care if he was a French baker," Del shouted, finally snapping. "He didn't write the bloody opera, did he? Segovia did. I lost 50 grand. For the rest of my life, getting that question wrong in front of my family, my friends, and the entire British nation is going to be the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me." He glared at Rodney's leather outfit. Although, coming home to find my managing director dressed as an extra from a Sword Dance Sandals epic is a close second. The telephone rang. It was a harsh, jarring sound that made them all jump. Nobody moved to answer it. They were paralyzed by the sheer exhaustion of the day's events. "Hello," Cassandra finally answered, picking up the receiver. "Yes, he's here. Can I ask who's calling, please?" She covered the mouthpiece, her eyes widening. "Del, it's the producer of Gold Rush. A man named Bill. He wants to talk to you." Del groaned, burying his face in his hands. "Oh, my God. What's he want? I bet it's about that podium I kicked over. I bet they're going to sue me for criminal damage now, haven't they? It's just the icing on the cake." He reluctantly took the phone. "All right, I'll speak to him. Hello. Yes, this is Derek Trotter. Send me the bill for the plastic. I'll pay it in installments." He listened. The color slowly drained from his face, and then, miraculously, began to rush back in. His eyes widened. His jaw went slack. "What? No, no," Del stammered. He said there's been a mistake." Rodney sat up straight, the leather straps of his armor creaking loudly. "A mistake? And it was Ravel?" Del asked the voice on the phone, his voice trembling with a mixture of shock and dawning joy. He covered the phone and turned to Rodney, a manic grin splitting his face. "Rodney, the producer says there was an error in their research department. The question was flawed. You were right. It was Ravel." "I knew it," Rodney shouted, leaping up and punching the air with his toy sword. "I knew I was right." Del turned back to the phone, his confidence returning in a tidal wave. "Yeah, I'm still here. Bill. Yeah, he said I can take the 50,000 pounds as an apology and go back on the show next week to play for the 100 grand. Yes." Del did a little jig in the middle of the living room. Raquel gasped, clapping her hands over her mouth. They were saved. They were actually saved. But then, the pub jukebox from the Nag's Head echoed loudly through the telephone line. Del heard the distinct sound of a pool cue hitting a ball, and a muffled, snickering laugh that sounded remarkably like Mickey Pierce. Dell's face hardened. The joy evaporated instantly, replaced by a cold, furious certainty. "Oh, have a day off, will you, you lot?" Dell sneered into the phone. "Dell, what are you doing?" Rodney asked, confused. "Who do you think this is?" Dell said to the phone, his voice dripping with venom. "Hey, look, I can hear the jukebox in the pub in the background. It's bloody Mickey Pierce again, ain't it? Trying to pull another prank on the Sultan of Brunei's right-hand men." "Dell, are you sure?" Cassandra asked nervously. "I'm positive," Dell shouted, highly offended. "I'm going to move." "No, no, no. Get to the back of the queue. Mickey, you're not having me over twice in 1 week." Dell puffed his chest out, a righteous, vengeful anger taking over. "Don't worry about the money, Bill. Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what we would like you to do with our winnings. Since you're so generous, give all the £50,000 to charity. Yeah, every single penny of it." Rodney screamed, diving across the sofa to grab the phone. "Dell, no." Dell easily pushed his skinny brother away, still talking into the receiver. "And if you phone here once again with your stupid pranks, Mickey, I'm going to come down to the Nag's Head and kick your arse into shredded duck. Goodbye." Dell slammed the phone down with a triumphant thud. "See, that's how you deal with pranksters. Show 'em you don't care." The room was completely, utterly silent. The air was thick with a new, terrifying kind of tension. "Dell," Rodney whimpered, pointing a trembling finger at the television screen in the corner. They had left the TV on, muted, tuned to the 24-hour news channel. Breaking news text was scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Breaking: BBC apologizes for game show error. Gold Rush producers confirm contestant Derek Trotter was incorrectly penalized. MR: Trotter has been contacted and has nobly donated his £50,000 winnings to charity. Dell stared at the screen. The letters seemed to burn into his retinas. "Jonathan," Dell whispered to the empty room. "He said give the $50,000 to charity. What a nice guy." Rodney fell to his knees, his gladiator helmet rolling across the cheap carpet. Raquel simply turned around and walked back into the bedroom, quietly closing the door. "Yes," Dell suddenly shouted, clapping his hands together in a desperate, horrifying display of broken psychology. He refused to accept the reality of what he had just done. He turned to Rodney with a wild, crazed grin. "Who do you people think we are, eh? We're the Trotters. And we're back. Yes, £50,000 to charity. What a tax write-off. This time next year, Rodney, we'll be millionaires." Rodney just sobbed quietly into the carpet, the plastic sword clutched in his hands, knowing that for Trotter's independent traders, the game was finally, truly over. Chapter 9: The Reluctant Philanthropist. The morning sun hit the concrete walls of Nelson Mandela House with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Inside flat 368, the air was thick with the distinct smell of burnt toast and profound regret. Del Boy stood by the window in his tiger print dressing gown, staring out at the Peckham skyline. He was holding a mug of tea that had gone cold 20 minutes ago. Down below, parked haphazardly on the pavement, were 3 white vans with massive satellite dishes strapped to their roofs. Reporters holding microphones were gathered around the main entrance of the estate, trying to bribe local children with 10-pence pieces for directions to the Trotter's flat. "They're calling me the Prince of Paupers," Del muttered, holding up a copy of the Sun. The front page featured a massive, slightly blurry photo of Del kicking the podium on Gold Rush, juxtaposed with a headline that screamed, "Bankrupt hero gives away £50,000 lady luck to sick kids." Sick kids, Rodney groaned from the sofa. He had finally managed to remove the gladiator tunic, but was still wearing the leather sandals. He hadn't slept a wink. You didn't just give the money to a generic charity, Del. The BBC transferred it directly to the Peckham Pediatric Hospital, a hospital for poorly orphans. Well, that's good, isn't it? Del tried to force a grin, though as I twitched uncontrollably. Good karma. What goes around comes around. Rotters. What comes around is the taxman, Derek, Raquel shouted, marching into the living room, fully dressed and dragging a suitcase. Del dropped his newspaper. "Raquel, sweetheart, what are you doing with the bag?" "I am going to my mother's," Raquel announced, her voice icy and trembling. "I stood by you when we lost the millions. I stood by you when we lost the house. But watching you throw away the only lifeline we had just to spite Mickey Pierce, I can't take it anymore. Del, my nerves are completely shot." "Raquel, wait. It's a strategic move," Del pleaded, scrambling after her as she headed for the door. "Think of the PR. Think of the brand recognition for Trotter's independent traders. We don't have a brand, Derek. We have a garage full of Mandarin spell checkers and a massive tax debt." She yanked the front door open. "I'll call you when I've calmed down, which might be sometime in the next decade." The door slammed shut. The silence that followed was broken only by the aggressive buzzing of the intercom. Rodney dragged himself over and pressed the button. "Yeah, it's the BBC, Mr. Trotter." A cheerful voice crackled through the speaker. "We're here to present the oversized novelty check to the hospital on your behalf. Can Derek come down for some photos?" Rodney looked at his brother. Del looked like a man who was simultaneously attending his own funeral and being forced to pay for the catering. "Tell Em I'm coming," Del sighed, straightening his dressing gown. "Might as well look the part. Hand me my gold chain. Rotters." Downstairs, the scene was a circus. Flashbulbs blinded them as Del stepped out, forcing his famous million-watt smile. he was immediately ambushed by Jonathan Ross himself, who shoved a massive cardboard check for £50,000 into Dell's hands. Derek Trotter, Jonathan beamed to the cameras. The man who put philanthropy before personal gain. Tell us, Derek, what inspired this incredible act of generosity? Dell stared at the giant numbers written on the cardboard. £50,000. He felt physically sick. He wanted to grab the cardboard, fold it up, and run to the nearest bank. Well, Jonathan, Dell said, his voice straining, I've always believed that money isn't everything. It's about giving back to the community, the little uns, the poorly little uns. They need it more than me. Even though you are officially bankrupt, a reporter shouted from the back. Dell's smile tightened into a grimace. Temporary cash flow issues, that's all. The Trotter empire is merely restructuring. Besides, he who dares wins. And today, the kids are the winners. The crowd applauded. An elderly woman from the estate wiped a tear from her eye. Even Rodney felt a strange, confusing pang of pride before remembering they couldn't afford to pay the electricity bill next week. As the cameras stopped rolling and the crowd began to disperse, Dell pulled the BBC producer aside. Listen, Bill, Dell whispered frantically, clutching the man's lapels. About that money, is it, legally finalized? I mean, couldn't we say I was under emotional duress? Temporary insanity? The producer laughed heartily, clapping Dell on the back. Oh, Derek, you're a joker to the end. Don't worry, the transfer went through electronically at 9:00 a.m. It's fully processed. You're a hero, mate, a national treasure. Dell watched the producer walk away. A national treasure. He felt more like a national disaster. Chapter 10, The Loophole. By Wednesday, the media circus had moved on to a scandal involving a minor royal and a horse, leaving the Trotters to face the harsh reality of their situation. The flat was quiet. Raquel was still at her mother's. Cassandra was working late at the bank to cover the rent. Rodney, fulfilling his duties as managing director of Trotter's Independent Traders, was sitting at the dining table surrounded by piles of tax documents, legal books he'd borrowed from the library, and an empty bottle of aspirin. Dell was lying on the sofa, staring at the ceiling, tossing a single £1 coin into the air and catching it. It was the only physical money he had walked away with from Gold Rush. There's gotta be a way out. Rotters, Dell muttered, missing the catch and letting the coin bounce onto the floor. There's always a way out. We just need to find a new angle, a new product. We don't have any capital to buy new products, Dell, Rodney said, aggressively flipping a page in Tax Law for Dummies. We owe the Inland Revenue £48,750 for pounds. We have exactly 12 quid in the company account, and 9 of that belongs to Trigger because I promised him a refund on a dodgy watch. Rodney rubbed his eyes. Wait a minute, he murmured, his finger tracing a line of text in the book. What? Dell asked, sitting up slightly. Gift aid, Rodney said slowly. Charitable donations. Don't talk to me about charitable donations, Dell groaned, lying back down. It depresses me. No, listen to me, Dell. Rodney stood up, pacing the room, his intellectual gears finally clicking into place. You're a bankrupt. You owe the taxman 48 grand, right? Right. But last week, you made a legally documented, publicly verified donation of £50,000 to a registered charity. Don't remind me. Dell, in the eyes of the law, charitable donations are tax deductible. If you make a donation through gift aid, or if it's treated as a personal charitable contribution, it offsets your taxable income for the year. Dell stared at him, his brow furrowing. But I don't have an income. I'm bankrupt. I owe them debt from previous years. Rodney grabbed a piece of paper and began scribbling frantically. Yes, but the BBC paid you the 50 grand as income from a game show. Technically, for about 5 minutes. You earned £50,000, which the taxman would have immediately seized to pay off your £48,000 debt. Exactly, Dell sighed. So I would have been left with £2,000. But Rodney shouted, slamming his hand on the table. Because you donated the entire 50 grand directly to charity before the taxman could seize it. You generated a massive tax relief credit under specific insolvency clauses. A monumental philanthropic act that reduces your current year's tax burden to zero can be backdated to offset existing arrears, provided the donation equals or exceeds the total debt owed. Dell slowly swung his legs off the sofa. Speak English, Rodney. Are you telling me what I think you're telling me? Rodney looked up, a manic, disbelieving grin on his face. Dell, you gave away 50 grand, but in doing so, you wiped out the 48 grand debt. You don't owe the Inland Revenue a penny anymore. Your bankruptcy conditions can be discharged. The silence in the room was deafening. Dell walked over to the table, staring at Rodney's scribbled math as if it were the Rosetta Stone. You mean to tell me, Dell whispered, that by accidentally giving away a fortune because I thought Mickey Pierce was winding me up, I actually saved us from ruin? It's a loophole. Rodney laughed, the relief washing over him like a warm shower. A massive, ridiculous, 1 in a million loophole. But yes, the debt is cleared. Trotter's Independent Traders is free and clear. Dell threw his head back and let out a roar of laughter that shook the windows of Nelson Mandela House. He grabbed Rodney and hugged him, lifting his lanky brother off the ground. You beautiful GCE holding genius, Dell cheered. I knew it. I knew making you managing director was the smartest thing I ever did. Technically, it was a clerical error by the BBC that set it up, but I found the law. Rodney grinned. We're back in business. Rodders. Call Raquel. Tell her to pack her bags. She's coming home. Call Cassandra. Tell her we're celebrating down the Nag's Head tonight. Del picked up his £1 coin from the floor, kissed it, and put it in his pocket. He who dares wins, Rodney. Even when he loses, he wins. Chapter 11, The Biographer Returns. The celebration at the Nag's Head was legendary. Del, riding high on the revelation that he was no longer a hunted man by Her Majesty's government, bought drinks for the entire pub on Cassandra's credit card, which she reluctantly allowed just this once. Even Mickey Pierce, who had inadvertently caused the entire charitable donation disaster, was forgiven, mostly because Del enjoyed lording his new philanthropic hero status over the younger man. The next morning, the hangover in the Trotter flat was of biblical proportions. Del was nursing a cup of black coffee when the telephone rang. Rodney, groaning, picked it up. Trotter's Independent Traders. Managing Director speaking. Please don't shout. Ah, Rodney, it's Justin. The smooth, cultured voice of the biographer echoed down the line. I hope I'm not disturbing you? Rodney sat up. Justin, no, not at all. What can we do for you? Del perked up, waving his hands to signal Rodney to put the phone on speaker. Well, gentlemen, Justin continued, his voice crackling slightly through the cheap plastic speaker. I must say, I have been following the news regarding Derek's exceptional generosity. Ah, yes, Del leaned into the phone, adopting his most humble tone. Just doing my bit for the community. Justin, the money's not important. It's the smiles on the little children's faces that count. Quite, Justin said, though he sounded slightly amused. The thing is, Derek, your story has caught fire. The public is fascinated by you. The man who had millions lost it all, won a fortune back on television, and immediately gave it away to orphans. It's Dickensian. It's poetic. It's true, Del agreed solemnly. I pitched the angle to my publishers, Justin revealed, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, and they are absolutely desperate to secure the rights to your official biography. They see it as a bestseller. The Peckham Phoenix, The Rise, Fall, and Redemption of Derek Trotter. Del looked at Rodney, his eyes wide. A book. About me? About both of you. Justin corrected. The Trotter brothers. The unbreakable bond that survived wealth and poverty. How much? Rodney asked, his managing director instincts kicking in before Del could say something stupid. The publishers are willing to offer a substantial advance, Justin said. Given the current media hype, they are prepared to offer you £50,000 for the exclusive rights. The number hung in the air. £50,000. The exact amount Del had lost. The exact amount he had given away. It was as if the universe was playing a massive, intricate game of financial ping-pong with their lives. Del's hand trembled slightly as he reached out and muted the phone. He looked at his brother. 50 grand, Dell whispered. Rodders, we're getting it back. Don't sound too eager, Rodney whispered back, his heart hammering. Let me handle this. I'm the MD. Rodney unmuted the phone, clearing his throat and trying to sound like a man who dealt with 50 grand contracts before breakfast. Well, Justin, that's a very generous offer, Rodney said smoothly. However, given the international interest in Derek's philanthropy, we are currently fielding several offers from rival publishing houses, including Penguin. Dell slapped his forehead, silently mouthing, Penguin, you plonker. There was a tense silence on the line. Justin cleared his throat. I see. Well, my publishers are very keen. What if we raise the advance to $60,000 and a 10% royalty on all hardback sales? Rodney's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. 60,000 and 10%. Is that acceptable, Managing Director? Justin asked. Rodney looked at Dell. Dell was nodding so hard his neck looked like it might snap. Yes, Justin, Rodney said, his voice surprisingly steady. We can accept those terms. Send the contracts over to our legal department. That's our flat 368, Nelson Mandela House. Excellent. Justin beamed. I look forward to starting the interviews. Gentlemen, good day. Rodney hung up the phone. The flat was dead silent for 3 whole seconds. Then, sheer chaos erupted. Dell grabbed Rodney and started dancing him around the cramped living room, knocking over a pile of ironing and nearly sending the television crashing to the floor. We did it, Rodders, Dell screamed, tears of joy streaming down his face. 60 grand. We're back in the money. Oh, the Trotters are back. Chapter 12, Full Circle. 3 weeks later, the atmosphere in Peckham had returned to its usual chaotic rhythm. The media vans were gone, the newspaper articles had faded into recycling bins, and the locals had gone back to complaining about the weather and the price of a pint. But for Trotter's independent traders, the world had fundamentally shifted. The advance check from the publishers had cleared. Dell and Rodney stood in the middle of their lock-up garage, surrounded by the familiar smell of damp cardboard and engine oil. The yellow 3-wheeled Reliant Regal van sat in the center, newly washed and polished, though still sporting a slightly dented bumper. All right, Managing Director, Dell said, slapping the roof of the van. What's the financial status? Rodney pulled out a brand new, genuine leather clipboard. He flipped a page with immense satisfaction. Well, after paying off the remaining minor debts, treating Raquel and Cassandra to a spa weekend, and putting a hefty deposit into a high-yield savings account, Rodney tapped his pen. Trotter's Independent Traders is officially operating in the black. We have 20,000 pounds in working capital. Beautiful. Dell smiled, lighting a cigar and taking a deep drag. and no taxman breathing down our necks. No taxman. Rodney agreed. And the book interviews with Justin start next week. He says he wants to dedicate a whole chapter to my leadership during the crisis. Dell chuckled, blowing a smoke ring into the damp air. Don't let it go to your head, Rodders. You might be the managing director on paper, but remember who found the Harrison watch. Remember who kissed the 50 grand goodbye to save us from the inland revenue. You did that by accident, Dell, Rodney pointed out dryly. Semantics, Rodney, semantics. History remembers the action, not the intent. Dell grinned, adjusting his camel hair coat. He walked over to a stack of cardboard boxes in the corner of the garage and ripped one open. Inside were hundreds of brightly colored plastic contraptions. What are those? Rodney asked, peering into the box. These, my intellectually gifted brother, are self-heating, glow-in-the-dark soup spoons, Dell announced proudly. I picked up 1,000 of M from Monkey Harris this morning. A bargain. Rodney sighed, a familiar feeling of exasperation washing over him. It was the feeling of home. Dell, nobody wants a glow-in-the-dark soup spoon. Soup is a daytime food, or an evening food eaten with the lights on. Ah, but what about campers, Rodders? What about power cuts? What about the late-night raver who needs a quick broth before hitting the club? Dell argued, his salesman eyes flashing with the old, familiar fire. We set up the pitch down at the market tomorrow, 2 for a $5. We'll clear the lot by lunchtime. Rodney looked at his brother. He looked at the absurd, useless plastic spoons. He looked at the battered yellow van. They had been millionaires. They had flown in helicopters and drank champagne on yachts. They had touched the very pinnacle of wealth and had fallen all the way back down to the concrete pavements of Peckham. And yet, standing in this freezing, damp garage, Rodney felt a strange sense of peace. They were back where they belonged. The hustle, the banter, the endless, ridiculous pursuit of the next big score. It was their raison d'etre. All right, Rodney smiled, closing his clipboard. 2 for a $5, but I'm driving the van. Fair enough, Governor, Dell winked, tossing Rodney the keys. Dell walked toward the exit of the garage, pulling the heavy metal door down. The bright London sunlight spilled across his face as he looked out over the sprawling estate. You know, Rodders, Dell said softly, his voice full of that unshakable, irrational optimism that defined his very soul. What's that, Dell? Dell boy turned back to his brother, a massive, genuine smile lighting up his face. This time next year, we'll be millionaires. Chapter 13, Radioactive Soup. The following morning at Peckham Market was brisk, carrying the sort of biting wind that made people walk with their heads down and hands shoved deep into their pockets. Perfect weather, according to Delboy, for selling a product designed to keep a person's minestrone at an optimal temperature. Dell stood atop a hastily erected wooden crate, a brightly colored plastic spoon waving wildly in his right hand. Roll up, Dell hollered, his voice cutting through the noise of the market. Don't let the winter freeze your broth. Trotter's Independent Traders is proud to present the culinary marvel of the 21st century, the Apollo 11 of cutlery, the self-heating, glow-in-the-dark soup spoon. A small, largely skeptical crowd had gathered. Among them were Denzel, clutching a polystyrene cup of tea, and Trigger, who was staring blankly at the plastic spoon as if trying to decipher ancient hieroglyphics. "How's it work, Dave?" Trigger asked, turning to Rodney, who was standing a few feet away, looking deeply embarrassed while wearing his managing director badge. Well, there's a chemical compound inside the handle, Trig, Rodney explained quietly, glancing nervously at Dell. You crack the handle like a glow stick, and a mild exothermic reaction occurs, warming the bowl of the spoon while emitting a phosphorescent glow. Trigger blinked slowly. Right, but does it work with cereal? No. Trigger, you don't want warm milk on your cornflakes. Rodney sighed. You're missing the point, Trig, Dell interjected, hopping off his crate. Imagine this. You're out camping in the wilds of Epping Forest. It's pitch black. You're starving. You reach into your knapsack, crack the spoon snap. Suddenly, you have light and a hot meal. It's a lifesaver. It is. Dell snapped the handle of the display spoon to demonstrate. There was a sharp crack, followed by a faint fizzing sound. Slowly, a neon green glow began to emanate from the thick plastic handle. See, Dell beamed. Lovely jubbly. That'll be 2 for a $5, ladies and gentlemen. Denzel leaned in, squinting at the spoon. Dell, why is it fizzing? It sounds like a cheap firework. That's just the heating element warming up, Denzel, Dell assured him confidently. It's entirely safe. Top of the range. Manufactured in, well, Taiwan, but using European specifications. Probably. As Dell spoke, the neon green glow began to intensify. It went from a soft, pleasant luminescence to a piercing, radioactive-looking green that lit up Dell's face like an alien in a B-movie. Dell, Rodney warned, taking a step back, it's getting really bright. It's just showing off its power, Rodders. Dell laughed nervously, shifting the spoon to his left hand. Oh, that is getting a bit warm, actually. Suddenly, the plastic handle began to bulge ominously. A thin wisp of acrid, yellow smoke hissed out of a microfracture near the base of the spoon. It smelled strongly of sulfur and burning rubber. The crowd instinctively took to collective steps backward. It's fine, perfectly normal, Dell insisted, though he was now holding the spoon away from his body as if it were an unexploded grenade. Dave, Trigger pointed out calmly, I think your spoon is melting. Trigger was right. The bowl of the spoon was visibly drooping, dripping hot, neon green plastic onto the pavement where it hissed violently against the damp concrete. Right, that's the prototype, Dell shouted, tossing the melting, smoking plastic into a nearby puddle, where it sputtered and died in a cloud of yellow steam. Who wants to buy the finalized version in the box? Guaranteed not to melt under normal soup conditions. At that exact moment, a man in a high-visibility jacket with a clipboard the local council health and safety inspector rounded the corner, drawn by the smell of burning plastic. Trotter, the inspector barked, "What in God's name are you burning on public property?" "Nothing, Mr. Henderson." Dell smiled innocently, kicking the melted puddle of neon plastic under his wooden crate. Just demonstrating the friction of my patter. Hot stuff, you know. "We're packing up now," Rodney yelled, seizing the moment. He grabbed the remaining boxes of self-heating spoons and shoved them roughly into the back of the three-wheeled van. "Come on, Dell board meeting. Urgent." Dell grabbed his crate, tipped an imaginary hat to the bewildered crowd, and sprinted for the van. As they chugged away from the market, trailing a faint scent of sulfur, Rodney buried his face in his hands. 20 grand in the bank, Rodney moaned. And you're selling toxic waste at a $5 a pair. Market research, rotters, Dell coughed, rolling down the window to let the yellow smoke out of his coat. You never know until you try. Chapter 14, The Creative Process. The following Tuesday, the flat in Nelson Mandela House was transformed into a makeshift literary salon. Justin, the biographer, sat on the floral sofa with a sleek, silver dictaphone resting on the coffee table. He held a legal pad and a pen, looking eager. Del Boy sat opposite him in his plush armchair, a large cigar clamped between his teeth and a crystal glass of what looked like expensive cognac, but was actually a mixture of cheap brandy and watered-down port resting in his hand. Rodney sat on a dining chair in the corner, holding his managing director clipboard, ready to ensure that history was recorded accurately. Cassandra and Raquel were out shopping, leaving the men to their creative process. "Right, Derek," Justin began, clicking his pen. "Let's dive into the early years, the foundation of Trotter's independent traders. I want to capture the grit, the sheer, unadulterated struggle of a young entrepreneur fighting against the system." Del sighed, gazing out the window with a look of profound nostalgia. "It was tough, Justin. Real tough. Peckham in the 70s wasn't for the faint of heart. Me and Rotters, we had to fend for ourselves. Our dear mom passed away, God rest her soul, and my dad, well, he went out to buy a packet of woodbines and must have taken a wrong turn at New Cross because we never saw him again. A tragic origin," Justin murmured, scribbling furiously. "And how did you survive?" Del leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dramatic whisper. "I had to use my wits. I had a turf war with the local syndicates. You see, Justin, the briefcase market in South London was controlled by some very heavy people. I'm not saying it was the craze, but let's just say they knew how to use a pair of pliers. Rodney coughed loudly from the corner. Del, you bought the briefcases from a bloke named Jiggling Jim who operated out of a shed in Lewisham. The heaviest thing about him was his wife. Justin stopped writing and looked up. Is that true, Derek? Del shot Rodney a venomous glare before turning back to Justin with a smooth smile. What my brother means, Justin, is that Jiggling Jim was merely a front, a puppet for the international cartels. You have to read between the lines. Justin nodded slowly. I see. And what about your first big score? The moment you realized you had a gift for commerce? Ah, that would be the Great Diamond Exchange of 1982. Del proclaimed, blowing a cloud of smoke toward the ceiling. I was approached by a mysterious Russian countess. She needed to move a priceless Romanov jewel out of the country. I hid it inside a shipment of inflatable flamingos. Rodney snapped his pen in half. Del, that never happened. It's a metaphor, Rodney. Del snapped back. A metaphor for what? Selling 3 boxes of knocked-off swimming pool toys to a youth center. Justin held up a hand, his eyes gleaming with artistic fervor. No, Rodney, let him speak. This is gold, absolute gold. The public doesn't just want facts. Rodney, they want a narrative. They want romance, danger, intrigue. If Derek felt like he was dealing with Russian royalty, then that is his emotional truth. Rodney stared at the biographer in utter disbelief. Emotional truth. He's making it up as he goes along. Last week he told Trigger he invented the internet in the back of the Nag's Head. And who's to say I didn't? Del challenged, taking a sip of his port mixture. I had the idea for a global network of computers connected by phone lines in 1978. I just couldn't afford the soldering iron to put it together. Justin chuckled, entirely charmed. Derek, your imagination is a testament to the entrepreneurial spirit. Let's move on to the Harrison watch. The moment everything changed. Del settled back into his chair, entirely in his element. Well, Justin, it was a dark and stormy night. For the next 2 hours, Rodney sat in agonizing silence as Del wove a tapestry of absolute fiction. According to Del, Trotter's independent traders had single-handedly negotiated trade embargoes, outsmarted Wall Street tycoons, and narrowly avoided assassination by rival antique dealers. By the time Justin left the flat, his dictaphone was full, and his eyes were wide with the promise of a guaranteed bestseller. Del, Rodney said exhaustedly as the door clicked shut, when this book gets published, we're going to be a laughing stock. It's a work of total fiction. Rodders, my son, Del smiled, patting his brother's cheek. It's not fiction. It's literature. And literature, my boy, pays a 10% royalty on hardback sales. Now, grab your coat. We've got a launch party to organize. Chapter 15, The Launch Party. If there was one thing Derek Trotter knew how to do better than anyone else in South London, it was throwing a party with someone else's money. The publisher's advance had afforded them the luxury of renting out the entire back room of the Nag's Head. Dell had transformed the usually dingy pub space into what he believed was a faithful recreation of a Mayfair literary salon, which mostly meant he had draped red velvet curtains over the dartboard and hired a local student to play the cello in the corner. A massive banner hung across the bar reading, "Congratulations, Derek and Rodney, the Peckham Phoenixes." The room was packed with the usual suspects. Denzel was attacking the buffet table, which featured an alarming array of cheese and pineapple hedgehogs. Trigger was staring intently at the cellist, trying to figure out how she was making the big violin sound so sad. Cassandra and Raquel stood near the bar, sipping actual champagne, both wearing new dresses bought with the first installment of the book money. I have to admit, Cassandra smiled, watching Rodney desperately trying to schmooze a man from a local newspaper. He looks happy, even if the book is mostly lies. Dell calls it creative embellishment. Raquel laughed, linking her arm through Cassandra's. I'm just glad we're not running from the taxman anymore, or selling those glowing spoons. Damien found one under his bed yesterday and thought it was a lightsaber. Suddenly, the doors swung open, and Boyke strode in, accompanied by his wife, Marlene. Boyke, the slick, sneering used car salesman, wore a sharply tailored suit and an expression of profound disdain. Well, Boyke drawled, his voice cutting through the chatter. He let out his trademark machine gun laugh. Dashy. If it isn't the Shakespeare of South London. I thought I'd stepped into the wrong pub, Del Boy. It smells suspiciously like success, combined with cheap aftershave. Dell stepped up to his old rival, straightening his tie. Ah, Boyke, glad you could make it to witness literary history. I'd offer you a signed copy, but I know you struggle with anything that doesn't have pictures of engines in it. Marlene giggled, kissing Dell on the cheek. Ignore him. Dell, I can't wait to read it. Is there any romance in it? Oceans of it. Marlene. Dell winked, mostly concerning my tragic, brooding nature. Tragic? Yes. Brooding? No. Boyke sneered, picking up a copy of the book from a display table. The cover featured a dramatic, black and white photo of Dell looking thoughtfully off into the middle distance, with Rodney slightly out of focus in the background. Boyke flipped to a random page and read aloud. And as I stood on the docks of Monte Carlo, the Mediterranean breeze whispering of a £1 million deal, I knew that Peckham would always be my anchor. Dear God, Dell, who wrote this? Barbara Cartland. It captures the mood. Boyke, Dell defended, snatching the book back. You wouldn't understand. You lack the artistic temperament. I lack the ability to lie with a straight face. You mean, Boyke scoffed, though a flicker of genuine jealousy danced in his eyes. The Trotters had bounced back, yet again, landing firmly on their feet. Rodney hurried over, his MD badge polished to a high shine. Gentlemen, the publisher's representative is about to make a speech. Del, you're up next. The room quieted down as a nervous-looking man in a tweed jacket tapped a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the publisher began. We are gathered here today to celebrate the launch of a truly unique book. When Justin first brought us the transcripts of Derek and Rodney Trotter, we didn't know what to make of it. It defied categorization. Del puffed his chest out proudly. But the publisher continued, a massive smile breaking across his face. We quickly realized we were sitting on a gold mine. The public is hungry for this. They want to laugh. They want the absurdity. And so, I am thrilled to announce that as of this morning, the Peckham Phoenix has entered the Sunday Times bestseller list. The pub erupted in cheers. Del and Rodney hugged, the weight of the past few months finally lifting completely. However, the publisher yelled over the noise. It is my great honor to inform you that the book has debuted at number 3 in the comedy and satire section. The cheering abruptly stopped. Del froze, his pint glass halfway to his mouth. Comedy, Del echoed loudly, staring at the man in tweed. Satire. What do you mean, satire? It's a business biography. It's a gritty tale of survival against the odds. The publisher laughed warmly. Oh, Derek, you're always in character. The critics are calling it a masterpiece of modern working-class surrealism. They think the bit about the Russian countess and the inflatable flamingos is pure comedic genius. Boyke let out a roar of laughter so loud it startled the cellist. He. Satire. You're a comedian, Del Boy. A clown. Rodney buried his face in his hands. I told you. Del, I told you nobody would believe that rubbish. Del stood absolutely still for a moment. He looked at the laughing faces around the room. He looked at Boyke's smug expression. He looked at the giant banner with his name on it. Then Del looked at the massive, cardboard mock-up of the book cover, which clearly featured a small, golden sticker reading, a hilarious romp, The Guardian. Slowly, the shock faded from Del's face, replaced by a slow, calculating smile. He turned to the publisher. Number 3 in the country, you say? Yes, Derek, and climbing. And the 10% royalty on hardback sales. Del continued, his business brain whirring at light speed. Does that still apply to books sold in the comedy section? Absolutely, the publisher nodded. Money is money, Derek. Del turned back to Boyke, his million-watt smile returning with a vengeance. He raised his glass high in the air. Well, you heard the man. Del shouted to the pub. A bestseller is a bestseller. Who cares what shelf they put it on? The Trotters are officially men of letters. Drinks are on the house. The pub erupted again. The momentary awkwardness washed away in a tide of free beer and good cheer. Rodney walked over to his brother, shaking his head with a mixture of disbelief and deep, enduring affection. You really don't care that they think we're a joke. Dell put an arm around Rodney's shoulder, pulling him close. He looked around the pub at Raquel laughing with Cassandra, at Trigger trying to eat a cocktail sausage with a toothpick, at Boyke paying for his own top-shelf whiskey because Dell had secretly cut off his tab. Rotters, Dell said softly, his eyes twinkling. They can call us clowns. They can call us satirists. They can call us whatever they bloody well like, as long as they spell the name right on the royalty check. Dell raised his glass toward the ceiling, the undisputed king of his own ridiculous, beautiful world. He who dares, Rodney, Dell whispered, a genuine smile on his face. He who dares wins. Chapter 16, The Silver Screen. The telephone in flat 368 began to ring with an aggressive frequency that the Trotters hadn't experienced since they were briefly millionaires. The Peckham Phoenix had not only remained in the top 3 of the comedy and satire section, but it had caught the eye of the media elite. Rodney, taking his role as managing director and literary agent very seriously, picked up the receiver with a practiced, professional sigh. Trotters Independent Traders and Publishing. Rodney Trotter speaking. Rodney, it's Justin. The biographer sounded as if he had just run a marathon. Have you got a pen? You need to write this down. I've just had a call from BBC Television Center. They want to adapt the book into a sitcom. Rodney dropped his pen. It rolled under the sofa, next to a stray glowing soup spoon. A sitcom. A television show. About us. Yes, they want to buy the television rights. They're talking about a primetime slot. Friday nights. Those creative embellishments have them absolutely howling. They want you both down in Soho this afternoon to meet the executive producer, Tarquin. When Rodney relayed the news to Dell, his older brother practically levitated out of his armchair. The silver screen, Rotters, Dell shouted, grabbing his camel hair coat. This is it. First the printed word, now the broadcast media. I always knew my life had a cinematic quality. I've got a natural screen presence, like Sean Connery or a young Michael Caine. 2 hours later, they were sitting in a painfully modern glass office in Soho. The producer, Tarquin, was a man in his late 20s who wore a suit jacket over a vintage band t-shirt and had hair that looked like it had been styled in a wind tunnel. Derek, Rodney, absolute legends. Tarquin beamed, offering them bottles of imported sparkling water. I devoured the book. The Russian Countess, the exploding briefcases, the time you accidentally smuggled a live badger in a grandfather clock at gold. Pure, unadulterated, working-class gold. We prefer entrepreneurial grit. Tarquin Del corrected smoothly, sipping the fizzy water and trying not to grimace. But yes, it's a hell of a story. Now, about the casting. Del leaned forward, adopting a serious, artistic expression. I've been giving it a lot of thought. I know it's unusual for the subject of a biography to play themselves, but I feel that only I can truly capture the nuance, the tragedy, and the raw magnetism of Derek Trotter. Tarquin stared at Del for a moment, then burst into a loud, braying laugh. Oh, you're brilliant. Always on, aren't you? Always doing the bit. It's fantastic. Del's smile faltered. I'm not doing a bit. I'm a natural actor. I once played the back end of a donkey in the Peckham Nativity play and had the vicar in tears. Derek, baby, listen, Tarquin said, wiping a tear of mirth from his eye. We've all